Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the PromoMinds Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Leslie, and today we're going to be taking a look at the customer experience for your business. Stay tuned. More from the PromoMinds Podcast coming up shortly. PromoMinds. Promote your brand, transform your business. So the customer experience is something that you don't want to negate. You don't want to just think, you know what, we get them in the door and then all the magic happens. The customer experience is what's going to help drive your word of mouth referrals. So once you get them into your business, you have to treat them with the just utmost respect and deliver on the value. And when I worked in the swimming pool industry, one of the things I noticed from my mentor was how he engaged with the customers. He wasn't afraid to, hug them and maybe even kiss them. It was widely a male-dominated industry, so he wasn't doing anything he shouldn't be doing. He just expressed how grateful he was that they were coming to shop or buy from his business, and it showed. He always had a smile, talked to them very respectfully, and he just treated them well. He tried to deliver the best experience. And so when he left the business and I had to step into his role, that's something that I tried to continue on. Now, I've said this time and time again, there's no way that I'd be able to fill his shoes, but I did the best that I could with my ability to live up to their expectations. And so one of the cool things about the customer experience is that this really defines your value as a salesperson. It doesn't matter if that's your tag name or not, but every interaction with your company, whoever your customers interact with, is a representation of your company. So whether it's the actual salespeople in the front, whether it's someone who has more of a manufacturing role or is not really part of the typical customer experience, they're still in a sales position. If they're the shipper, still a salesperson. Definitely a huge part, especially in the manufacturing and distribution world. The shipper has so much responsibility because it doesn't matter if the customer service person takes the order properly and delivers the order properly to the team to get done. It's the last set of eyes before it leaves. And there were countless times where I would go back and try to make sure as much as I could that the proper products were in place. And on top of that, for stairs could be a huge issue depending on, they scratch very easily. And so you have to be very careful. And when you're dealing with, large equipment and a large amount of product in a small environment, I guess, things can go wrong. So I know at the end of the day, people are trying their best, right? And so it's just to be aware to make sure that your team, everyone on your team, is on the same page. And to do that, you have to focus on worker happiness, which that's a whole different topic. There's a lot of things to cover with that. And I think coming up, I'll bring someone on the show that can maybe talk about that. But that's something that Richard Branson said. If you take care of the employees, then they'll take care of the customers, right? And so I find that that's so true because as an employee to a business, especially in a customer relations role, you have to basically treat it like it's your own business. And if you have that frame of mind and you're able to, articulate it in a way that it feels like your business and you want to deliver on as much value as possible compared to the person who is just there for a paycheck, then you're going to stand out. And so that's something that I always took with me. I believe I learned it from Jim Rohn. And it's funny because just the other day, I was talking with Pete Comrie, who was featured on the show a few weeks ago. And that's one thing that he mentioned is just when you smile, it completely changes the experience. And just having that smile on your face and to show up a little bit more passionate, like it's just that frame of mind, right? As soon as you smile, good things happen. So that's something to take with you if you're in that role. And then if you don't feel like you're in that role, but you start to deal with customers, start seeing customers, interacting with them, to understand that you are a representation of your company. And it really doesn't matter if you're upset that day or not. That's the experience that customer is going to walk away with. So if you enjoy your job, even if you like your job enough that you want to stay and grow with the company, then understand that at the end of the day, it's the customer who is going to determine how successful the company is, right? So you want to deliver on that customer experience. I was reading a blog post from HubSpot, and I got it pulled up here. Okay, so as it relates to customer experience statistics, this is from 2022, but it says 66% of customers expect companies to understand their needs. What that means is the company has to make sure that the customer service agents and anyone in customer relations, salespeople, they have to have an understanding of their product and the kinds of questions they're going to get asked. Now, obviously, if you're brand new to the industry, that's going to take some time. However, one of the things I've been suggesting for the past few years has been for companies to create a video resource library which answers the most frequent questions that they're typically asked. And obviously, there's only so much time in a day that you can dedicate towards this, but make it a habit to just, when you get asked a question on a frequent basis, even if you just get asked one question, if you can take note of it or even record yourself on your phone, just pull out your phone, record yourself saying the answer, that will start on the trajectory to build up that resource library. On top of that, it allows your company to create a tool one time, and then that can then be part of your training for onboarding new employees. Because as we mentioned in a previous podcast, people retain 95% of complex information when it's delivered in video format, as compared to retaining only 10% through text alone. So if you are still a company that has, the huge manual full of text trying to educate your employees, their brain is shutting off, their eyes are glazing over, they don't want that. That's not efficient. Instead, what you could focus on is take that manual, all that text in that manual, and start to create videos around it. This way, you can also utilize that on your YouTube page, and you can use it in different posts. You can create articles on LinkedIn and insert video here, right? I think it's very important. Something that I've tried to do over these last couple months has been to distinguish just how important video is moving forward. That's what customers want, and that's what your employees want in order to learn. Because not only will they retain the information better, they'll be able to refer back to it over and over again in order to help them move a customer along or help them answer a question. Or maybe they get asked a question that they don't know on the phone, but they want to find it out for the customer, and just going to that video resource library, finding it, just share it in an email, send it in a text, however they want to do it. Or they can take a moment to watch, a 1 or 2 minute video, learn the information, and then repeat it to the customer to further retain that information. There's a wealth of knowledge that you can do with video. And if you're just overlooking it, I think you're going to get left behind here, because if those who embrace video, not just in a video marketing sense, but also as an educational sense internally, those are the companies that are going to thrive. So anyways, we've gone over the first statistic here, which is 66% of customers expect companies to understand their needs. Second one, customers will spend more for a good experience. Now I'm going to remove this for a second. This is entirely true because I have lived it. People would buy from the company that I work with simply because of the service they received. And if you're walking into a company who hires, just anyone, or hires a bunch of people that don't know what they're doing, and you refuse to give them the proper training or have those resources in place, you're setting your company up for failure. What you need as a company is you need those training resources, or you need a mentorship program where you have those experienced sales personnel who can relay the information to new staff. And anyone who's going to be in a customer relations area or position needs to at least have access to this information. They might not need to all know it, but if they can find it, that's going to go above and beyond with the customer experience. On top of that, as it relates to the ever-growing technologies, how frustrating is it when you try to call a company and you get a voice automated message or a voice machine, that you have to then either know an extension or you have to go through a bunch of prompts when all you really want to do is speak to a single person directly about your order or ordering something. I understand it on the company's side. If you get slammed with all these phone calls and you're trying to push people to email, especially during the pandemic, I totally understand that. However, there needs to be some kind of way that people can directly get into contact with you, because the more resistance you put up, the less people are going to buy. Now, I mentioned as the pandemic hit, a lot of contractors experienced a lot of overwhelm. And so, like I said, I can understand putting something like that in place to eliminate the not unimportant calls, but calls that, can be an email, or, sometimes you just get hounded by people that just want to cause headaches. There, I said it. And so now if the market cycle is turning and you're experiencing less calls, well, now you have to look at eliminating those barriers. So it's a fine dance that you're doing in between cycles, but understand that a lot of people dealt with the company that I was with simply because they didn't want to talk to a machine. That was huge. When I made a customer testimonial video about 8 years ago, that was one of the frequently noted remarks by pretty much everyone that I interviewed. So I definitely made note of it. Hey guys, if you're looking for a great book on leadership and becoming a person of influence, well, that is the title of this book by John C. Maxwell, Becoming a Person of Influence. It's written with Jim Dornan of the Amway Corporation. Now, don't let that faze you because it is a gem. I have read this book over and over again. I absolutely love it. I actually have a spare copy that I like to give to people. And also, I've tabbed out my copy just so I can go back to all the different tidbits found within this book. So check it out, Becoming a Person of Influence by John C. Maxwell and Jim Dornan. All right, let's get back to the show. Now, what do we got next? Customer-centric companies are 60% more profitable than companies that aren't. And again, I go back to the notion of eliminating the voicemail service, or if in bigger companies, that could be something that would take a lot of time and votes and whatever. But for your customers who, your frequent customers that, you know, you're trying to maintain those good relationships with, and if they don't have at least your cell phone, there's something wrong. Because I had a customer that I've still stayed in good contact with because he's the type of guy that, you know, he didn't want to do email. It just did not work for him. And he was the perfect guy to bypass those kind of lines, we'll say, because the pools changed, like the shapes might have changed, but the equipment didn't, or it very rarely did. So all he had to do was, I needed him to text me a little sketch on a napkin even of the pool shape that he wanted, where he wanted stairs, whatever, and then plus a system. I knew exactly what he wanted. So why should a guy like that have to go through these barriers when he makes dealing with him so easy, right? So you're trying to eliminate the resistance so that customers appreciate the experience with your customer, with your company more. And that also goes for your website. If you have a website that's giving off, you know, information that's not really relevant to them, they're not going to have a good customer experience. If they can't find the information they're looking for, they're gone. They're going to the next one, right? And so that's why it's very important for you to stay up to date with your website and make sure that it pertains information, not information that you as the owner want to include, but think about what your customer's frame of mind is when they're finding your website. So if you're a contractor whose focuses on renovations, well, what's going through the customer's mind that's leading them to click on your website? Why are they going there? They have questions, or they have certain thoughts, and that's where they're going to your website. And if they can't find that information easily, they're moving on to the next one because you're saying you don't understand them. So it's very important to understand how your customer is acting going onto your website, and becoming more customer-centric as a whole. When they show up, how are they greeted? Is it easy for them to shop? Is it easy for them to pick up what they need to pick up? All these things come into play, and you need to understand how you can become more customer centric, how you can deliver in a way that's enjoyable and goes beyond the norm, right? Compete in a way where others can't or won't. So maybe you have some coffee for them. Maybe you have answers to questions that you know they're going to have when they walk in, and bam, you can greet them and, lay it out on the line right there. However that looks. You can even deliver product. That was one thing that I used to do. If I had a customer who needed a product and they needed it, first thing Monday, or they needed it on the weekend, and there was really no time to get it there other than the only option to drive it, I would do that. If I had people that would call me on Saturday mornings or Friday nights and, say, I'm sorry, but I need this product, and is there any way that I could come get it? I would go in to make sure that they would get their product, or I could leave it outside for them if they said they were coming by, they're going to be like an hour after we closed. Like, trying to go above and beyond that typical customer experience is what's going to elicit your value in the customer's mind, right? And the more value you can deliver in those moments, the customer experience, like just being an enjoyable person to deal with, share some laughs, smile. Don't look at customers or potential customers as burdens. That's something that I was guilty of in the pandemic years. I became a very negative person because just all the stress, I let it get to me, and it just did not fit the customer experience. And so as I drifted away from my laurels, so did my team. So that's a responsibility on your top management and the leaders of your organization to really drive home, is to really make sure that they are on their game and they're able to handle themselves. And if they're stressed out, if they're dealing with things, behind the scenes, it's important as a leader to recognize that. In today's day and age of hustling, recognize that people are going through things that is hard to explain sometimes, but to understand and to be able to come up with a plan to help them through that. So again, if you take care of your employees, the employees will take care of the customers. And if you are able to create an environment of success where you're able to mentor people, whether they're new or experienced employees, if you can create some sort of mentorship or highlight the fact that there are coaching programs, mentorship programs, conferences, seminars, invest in your employees. And that's something that at the last company that I worked for, that's something that was becoming a little more prominent. And it was something that also allowed me to, I guess, feel reassured that my growth was also part of the company's plan. So that's how you help retain top talent, is to provide an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for success, and invest in people's personal growth. And if they don't want to grow, if they're stagnant, figure out, what's going on there. If they don't want to change, they're not going to be good for that environment. They're going to bring others down. So you have to make hard decisions whether or not you want to keep them around, because once again, if they're handling customers or if they're interacting with others on the team that are talking to customers, they start to become a burden on that team. They start to bring it down, right? We've seen it in the sports world, how certain players can be almost drama queens, and they create all this drama where, you're trying to win a championship. Look at the New England Patriots for 20 years with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I know that's a hot topic today. I'm a Pats fan, so very hot topic. But if you look at the Patriot way for 20 years, no drama. And if there was drama, you were gone. That was it. It was team focused. So that's something that you can take away from sports teams is, how do the champions work? How do the championship teams work? If you look at the Chicago Bulls in the Jordan era, Michael Jordan, say what you want, he's the greatest basketball player of all time. And he was very hard and very intense to work with, but he expected people to perform at their best because that's what he did. That's what a true leader does. And so again, leadership is huge because it starts from the top down. You have to show your people the way how you interact with that. And again, you can create videos around that. You can have meetings around that. Create role-playing scenarios where you try to educate people and bring them up into a more positive, customer-centric environment. I love that word, customer-centric. Hey guys, if you're into hiking at all, I highly recommend subscribing to my YouTube page, Steve Leslie Hikes. That's Steve Leslie Hikes on YouTube. I have a lot of content on there from some of the crazy hikes that I've been on, including Angel's Landing in Zion National Park. And it'd be really cool to connect on there. So please check me out. Thanks. All right, finally, what else? There's number 4 here. Business leaders agree that prioritizing worker happiness gives companies a competitive advantage and makes it easier to retain top talent. That's funny. That's what I literally just said. So it was probably in my head from reading it earlier, but it's so true. If you can create that environment for your employees to step in and, treat the business like it's theirs, and to focus on delivering value to their customers, to your customers, that's the recipe for success. And that is the difference between buying a product from you and your company and going down the street. Because at the end of the day, if you're the one delivering the value, the customers are going to understand that you don't come with that product if it's bought down the street. So they're going to want to deal with someone that they know, like, and trust, and who's going to have their back if things go bad with this product, or if they're in a situation that they don't understand, they need some more information. However it is, whatever value looks like to them, you want to make sure that you are an advocate for that. You provide the best customer experience by giving them the information they need and they want, having the answers to their questions, to be able to have a positive attitude, positive interactions with them, and to care about them, to learn about them. You want to showcase the fact that you understand your customers at all these different levels. And really, half the battle is just showing up as a good person. Smile, make a joke, share some laughs, but be educational, be informative, be a person of value. And I can't stress that enough, because when I started out in the swimming pool industry, I knew nothing. And eventually it came to a point where I would have to tell people, I don't know, but I will find out. And I made it a point to go find out either that day or within 24 hours, find that answer and get back to them. That was huge. Because if you know nothing and people have questions and you get back to them with the answers to that questions, the sooner you can do that, the more reliable you are seen. And that's what builds your trustworthiness. So that's why I'm stressing companies, you need to consider creating a video resource library of answering frequently asked questions and questions about your product, your business, all these answers that you can give that's in your manual that you expect your salespeople to know or your customer relations team to know. Whatever you want them to know, create a video around it. Grab your cell phone and create videos. It sounds like a big task, but if you break it down, anytime you get those answers or you get asked that question, record yourself answering it. Or take a moment after the call to record a quick video answering it. Add it to your library. It's going to be huge. Not to, I feel like Donald Trump there. It's huge. No, that is going to come in so handy, because that is something that I've dealt with on my own. And why let your employees walk in and have to figure all this stuff out, do their own research without documenting it, without making it something that's readily available to your team? Something to consider. Anyways, that's all for this week's PromoMinds podcast on the customer experience. And earlier I mentioned about the sports teams, and I just wanted to point out that in terms of like trending, this is something that maybe I'll talk about a little bit more in an upcoming podcast. But I noticed today on Google Trends, which if you don't know what Google Trends is, just go on to your search engine, type in Google Trends, and it'll pop up. That has all the top trending hashtags or topics for the day. And you can research like previous months or years on different topics in different areas. And what I noticed today is that in Canada, 8 of the top 10 most Googled terms were related to sports. Predominantly sports athletes, but a couple of them were entire teams. The number one, what was it? Victor, let me see if I still have it pulled up here. Okay, so you can see Wednesday, November 15th, Virat Kohli, who's a cricket player. Cricket is freaking huge. Again, to use a huge term. I need a different word. It's massive, and I've never understood it, but I'm sure if someone wants to teach me or educate me a little bit, I'm open to it. You got Draymond Green, Shubman Gill, Patrick Kane, the Lakers, Sidney Crosby, David Beckham, the Clippers. And then just outside of the top 10 is the NBA in-season tournament. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the top 10 with the NBA in-season tournament just outside of there. So the reason I bring that up is because the reason I bring this up is because if you're creating content that you want to be, affiliated with stuff that's happening, that's current stuff that's happening, Google Trends is an awesome resource. But on top of that, it's amazing how many people are invested in sports and how researched or how searched athletes and sports teams are. So just something to consider as you're creating content. Again, that's something that maybe I'll speak to on a different podcast, but something to check out. If you've never used that tool before, Google Trends. You can get a lot of research on there. So yeah. Anyways, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the PromoMinds Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Leslie, and before I sign off, I just want to say I'm currently looking to network with more people to bring on the show. So if you know an entrepreneur, or if you yourself are an entrepreneur who's wanting to come on the show, then please send an email to promominds@gmail.com. That's PromoMinds, so PromoMinds @gmail.com. And obviously the end will have the photo of it as well. Please send me a message, and I'd love to connect, hear your story, and see if it's a good fit to come onto the podcast. Anyways, I'm your host, Steve Leslie, and until next time, take care. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of PromoMinds Podcast. I'm Steve Leslie, and if you want help crafting your message or sharing your story, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help. Love coming up with ideas, and we can have a nice chat. So reach out to promominds@gmail.com and I'll respond. Take care.